what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live. There's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel. So please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. One last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now we are joined by Neil, 10th Man, Paul, Flatsoid, Arwin, and a whole bunch of people in Discord. So welcome, one and all.
Good day, good day, good day.
Hello, hello.
Good morning.
Hello, hello.
Guten Morgen.
Guten Morgen. Any signs of a physical geometric sphere edge horizon formerly known as Earth curvature?
Not some good Morgan.
Guten Morgen's just a good morning in German.
I thought it was a rum drink.
Maybe it's a rum drink called Good Morning in German. I don't know
Captain
if,
Good Morgan.
don't know if you'd have rum for a good morning, but maybe some people do. Alcoholics.
Most people take a rum in the morning just to get the body going.
Boom, boom. So, geometric physical sphere edge horizon, formerly known as Earth curve. Anybody at all?
In orthographic view.
Has anybody
reality.
measured this so-called geometric curve?
No.
The Earth curve's starting to sound like a joke.
Earth curve is a joke.
Ain't none.
I've had somebody smash the super chat, so let's. Is where my organisation skills are obviously lacking woefully as I reload the page so I can actually read the damn thing. Shout out to Sean Tibbets, who gives me a thumbs up. Thank you very much for the super chat. Really appreciate the support. Any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth?
Yes, yes, I see the picture. It's on your screen, Nathan.
That's epic. Hey, Chocolate.
P ways, S ways.
Good morning.
Good morning. P-ways and S-ways, they get it wrong though, don't they, Paul? Hello, by the way.
Yeah, if they drilled down and it didn't quite measure up the way they thought it would.
Seismological deep scanning technology has a long way to go.
Any evidence of the distance to the sun?
No. It's a bit difficult to calculate something that keeps moving away.
I got a picture of the sun.
Epic. That's great.
That's not what the sun looks like.
There's a picture on screen. That's what they claim it looks like.
Well, you can measure its apparent location, but that may not be its true location, right?
What's apparent mean? Not actual. Appearing, but not actually.
That's right. Just apparently, but not real.
I see.
So Paul, would you know its actual size or just its angular size, which is still anyway assumed?
You can only know your angular size. Angular. But that sounds like a fishing thing I need to do. Go angle or something, whatever the word is. I can't even say it.
Yeah, you need to know the distance before you can have angular size, and you need to know the angular size before you can have the distance.
I have seen them say that you can use. Oops, sorry.
That's okay. Go ahead. You're actually answering
I've
that.
actually,
No, you need actual size. for this.
Well, I have heard you can use a quarter and figure out the distance using a quarter, using trigonometry or whatever the word is. I've heard that before, but I've never actually done it.
Yeah,
You still need to confirm either distance or actual size, though.
Yeah, it's going to be hard with an intangible item, eh?
That method only puts you a quarter of the way there anyway.
Boom, boom.
Any scientific evidence of gravity?
Ooh.
No.
Gravitational waves. I did a special presentation about it today.
Okay.
How about that? Yeah, I asked my audience, what is the speed of a gravitational wave, and how did they detect it without conjuring it in a man-made device? Surprise, surprise, people had some trouble answering the question.
Well, there's a problem with that too, because it's supposed to be the gravitational wave is the bending of space-time. Well, how would you measure something that's bending all of reality?
Well, they
How would you
say
do that?
that they have detected it in this device by the unnatural phasing of certain light patterns. So that's it. And they haven't isolated whether it might be caused by something else, maybe for example, maybe it's the electric ether rotation, the same thing that causes ring laser gyroscopes to have that deviation. Maybe it was something like that. No, it's gravity waves. That's what causes the deviation. It's very hard to detect. It's absurdly hard. Oh, really?
Sorry, Owen, are you saying light is a wave?
Hold on, are you saying this is scientific evidence?
Well, there was he visited Caltech, apparently. There was a guy there. It was very weird. It sounded like complete astrophysics or something. But they did a supposed experiment with lasers and shit. And then said, oh, the laser went off phase and that's because of a gravitational wave. So we found the proof. Ooh.
Hold on. What I'm hearing
was
is...
that the 2017 version?
Hold on.
And then it came out in 2020?
I'm hearing...
Sorry.
I posted it. It's your video. You posted it, and then I found a follow-up link.
I'm hearing...
And I think I posted that right after.
The follow-up was from 2017, though.
Oh, right.
Right.
I'm hearing a dependent variable... I'm hearing a dependent variable of laser what now?
Yeah, right. Well, I don't think you heard any dependent variables.
Come on.
Look, the phenomenon was conjured in the device because you can't even pick it up. It's apparently absurdly hard. So they made a device to conjure the phenomenon because they can't do it without it. Come on.
Right. So it's a conjured phenomenon. You haven't got an phenomena you're observing in nature, basically. So James Richard, thank you very much for the super chat. He says observation, isolation, variation, manipulation, and control is why gravity not applicable to either of those, and yet still called science. Right. You need an independent and a dependent variable if you're going to be calling it science. Most importantly, you need to actually observe something happening in the first instance, as opposed to conjuring it in a man-made device. Thanks for the super chat.
Yeah, it's not science. Easy.
No. You ask it again? Any scientific evidence of gravity?
Yeah, well, Nathan, will you play the first 50 seconds? It's CGI only of the video. I did it on my show too. It supposedly presents this proof in 50 seconds.
Yeah, sure. Get me the link and I'll put it up. Just send it in.
I haven't gotten a strike just yet, so I'll put the YouTube link.
It's not yours? No, definitely not then. Why are you even asking? I've not got a strike yet. Wonderful. Thanks, Alwyn.
What? No, I haven't. I showed it for 50 seconds on my show today. Nobody's face in there. So
I'm not in front of the firing squad quite yet, but go ahead and show it.
No, I won't be. But thank you for offering to share that material that's not yours. Let's move on.
Can you maybe
you can
detail it?
Hold on, Platzoid. Hold on. Maybe if you can describe it, Alwyn. Describe what debunks it? Or... It's
literally a video of somebody describing what I just said with some CGI support. That's it.
Okay, I get it.
You
Sounds
can take a
empirical.
look at it in the background first if you like, but it's a pretty good
Thank you.
representation at least.
Please
Sounds like-
drop. Please drop asking me to play someone else's video
Sounds like
unprompted.
NASA chocolate.
during a live show. No, that's not going to happen.
All right, fine.
Hey, chocolate. Sounds like NASA CGI support.
Boom, boom.
Because it has to be.
I don't know. I just thought it was relevant,
Oh God, he's not going to let it go. Oh, look, in the middle of a live show, I'm not going to check something, decide whether or not it's worthy.
I'm
of
just
risking.
justifying why I brought it up. That's all.
It's good to bring it up, but I'm just not going to play the video. Anyway, let's move on. Any single viable hypothesis from any of the fields of astronomy, cosmology, or astrophysics?
Well,
Then I'll go
maybe
once.
this video.
I knew it. I was waiting for it.
I asked that question in my show. Like, is this actual physics or is this astrophysics? I don't even know that officially about it.
That was a good one, Arvin.
So,
Is it claimed to be
We're all
science? Do
trying to play it.
they call it science at any stage, Arwin?
sorry.
Is it claimed to be science and lacking? We already established it's lacking dependent variable, right? So, do they claim it's science? If so, that's got a title. But do they actually claim it as science?
Well, that didn't really stand out. So they might have avoided that word, but they did like go to Caltech in that video and all that. But they might, I should have paid attention to that. I didn't hear it.
Well, if they did,
I
it's
remember.
pseudoscience, right? Well, that's obviously a lot more damning. But if they didn't, and they're just like, this is what we did, here's how we did it, well, it's just not science, if that's the case.
Right. I thought that the Caltech guy was kind of acting a bit weird, wearing sunglasses throughout the entire video and all that. I was like, what?
Wait, are you talking about the video named "The Absurdity of Capturing Gravitational Waves"?
Yes.
That one?
Yes.
Oh. Where they're basically making fun of the whole, what they did to actually get these gravitational waves. That's the one.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's a Veritasium video, so it's the same channel.
Please tell
know.
us what a gravitational wave is for the audience.
It's a ripple in the bending of space-time where the space-time locally apparently is 50 times more compressed, even though it doesn't really explain to me what that's supposed to do. It's 50 times more difficult than why is it still so absurdly difficult to pick it up? But yeah, it's a compression wave of space-time that ripples out the places.
Yeah, but the guy quoted it very beautifully. He says, and I've heard Smoke in the Grass say the same thing. Matter tells space-time how to curve, and space-time tells matter how to move. Isn't that poetic?
Okay, if you're talking
And
about...
how did they find this out?
Hold on a second, 10th. If you're talking about the compressing time, well, you can't compress a concept. Likewise, you can't bend it either.
Conceptually, you can.
Conceptually, but physically, in reality, you cannot compress time. It's a concept.
Well, they're not technically compressing time. They're compressing space-time, which is something else.
Space-time is the fourth dimension of length, breadth, depth, and time, pseudo-Riemannian four space.
Right, so it's not time.
It's the collective...
Space-time.
It's the collective dimension that includes time. It's still a conceptual medium.
Right, but it's not just isolating time and bending that. No, it's an amalgamation between the two that is being bent, that is being compressed. So it's both space and time is compressed a little in some way,
Yes,
apparently.
that's fascinating.
Even though
but-
it's absurdly hard to detect.
Thank you, Arwin. Yes, fascinating. But the point being that it's still conceptual.
Yeah.
That was a very Ed-esque yeah, both times.
Yeah,
Yeah.
why are you fighting it?
No, that's yeah.
Yeah.
I think-
You're
yeah.
correct.
Right.
No, I'm not playing Ed here. Ed couldn't say this.
Yeah.
You'd have to Google it first.
You can't bend, compress, or otherwise time or space-time. These are both conceptual mediums, regardless if you incorporate length, breadth, and depth into it.
Well, we can't, but apparently exploding superstars or black holes can out there in the vacuum of space.
Within that
I'm gonna-
In the what? In the what? Of the what?
I'm gonna imagine myself to have superpowers just because it's conceptual, it's real now.
Oh, by the way, this is all Chocolate's fault for posting that video this morning.
for the audience's benefit, this is all Arwin's fault and not in the least bit Chocolate's.
No.
Yay.
Well, Arwen just bent the truth, though.
I shouldn't have brought it up first.
Didn't realize you did.
Yeah.
No, I just thought it was a really funny video. So
Well, give it a proper plug.
I just liked it because he started out the video with gravity doesn't exist. It's an illusion. Gravitational waves are the thing. Like he just starts it off that way. And it's hilarious because then you're reading the comments and it's like even the globe believers in there are like, uh-oh, flat earthers are going to jump on this. Like,
Yep.
well, that's not our problem. It's yours.
Yeah, that's the crucial detail. If somebody in the comments for that Veritasium video saying, "Oh, flat earthers will jump on this," why? Because you use 105-year out-of-date gravity and someone's simply quoting the correct pseudoscience. We only tell you to quote it so we can pummel it. It's not like we're on the side of Veritasium when he describes bending space-time.
Exactly.
We only want you to parrot Einstein because it's much easier to pummel. I just pummeled it a minute ago with Arwin.
Yep.
Even Arwin's reluctant to take the pummeling. It's not even his rhetoric, but he still gave his Weasley yeah when it's conceptual mediums being bent or compressed or otherwise.
Damn it. It's war out there.
Right.
Right. Moving on. Any evidence that you can have gas pressure without a container?
Would it be able to be open and closed at the same time?
It's a valved system.
You'd need a container for it to have a valve.
The Zanuck valve.
Gravity is like a valve. It's open and closed at the same time.
Gravity's got nothing to do with this.
I know.
Step on a scale.
How can conceptual illusion anyway do anything about entropy?
It can't. It doesn't. It won't. They just assert it at trench level. And that assertion, while it is total nonsense in the case of the natural law that is entropy and gas behaviour, they still assert it. Now, that's why it could be a problem, and people are saying, oh, flat earthers will be all over this when they talk about that Veritasium video, because we're telling them what their rhetoric is, a bit like with Coriolis effect. Speaking of which, or any more on gas pressure without a container? No? Moving on. Any evidence of axial rotation? Check it out, got Neil deGrasse Tyson's cartoon avatar on screen going, yo, bro! I think he's stuck into Simon. Dan he's going, bro! Why you break my reference frames, dude?
Thank you, Simon.
Reference frames.
It's funny, just to
You're
bring it back to that
misrepresenting
Veritasium guy, he was also talking about reference frames. So apparently in their model, reference frames are a thing.
Yeah, it'd be pretty careless to declare reference frames as ruined when there's no flat earth arguments that require reference frames. Just a total own goal.
Just his pizza globe.
I think we've covered all the housekeeping questions. I think that was the last one. Oh no, I always miss out R. Any evidence of the R value? Earth radius?
It's just a redundant term.
Black Swan.
Yeah.
May I say something on the Coriolis?
Can.
Well, the Coriolis is a visual effect. Coriolis vision. So how can something visual affect anything?
Can't. It's like claiming an illusion or a sight gag can cause something to happen. It can't.
Agreed. That's why I renamed it the Coriolis vision. And I would love if everybody would refer to it as the vision, the Coriolis vision. This way we take the power away from them.
Yeah,
Or you can use their own words. They like to call it an illusion. Their own citation calls it an illusion. So, yeah.
Of course, it is an illusion.
It is an illusion.
Or
but
you could,
I think you're
or
missing
you could say,
hold on, 10th. I think you're missing the subtlety of SC Montreal's point. His point is that when you specifically use the word vision, you're tying it to the person viewing something, as opposed to them talking about aeroplanes and them accounting for something not occurring. Well, the Coriolis effect is you observing something. So when he says Coriolis vision, he's tying it to you being spinning, because they fight against that, right? The effect is induced by you turning underneath, attached to a reference frame that's spinning. That's how you get the effect. So Coriolis vision ties it specifically to you viewing it as you turn underneath. So when they come to fight against it and say, no, we wouldn't expect the plane to take a shorter duration because Earth's turning underneath, you've already tied them to, well, Earth turning underneath is what gives you Coriolis effect. So the moment they say that from here on out, thanks to Simon Dan, we can say, no, you need your two reference frames. You need to be turning underneath. That's what you're supposed to have. Coriolis effect. But most people on both sides don't know what it is. So yeah, I totally agree with you, SC Montreal. How do you tie them down to what the effect actually needs to be in effect? And that is you turning underneath observing stuff. So the Coriolis vision of the illusion, yeah, I'm all for that. Tie it to what it is. You spinning underneath looking at something. Not the thing you're looking at. Nothing to do with the thing you're looking at. It could be a concreted into the ground lamppost and you on a roundabout. Spinning around, looking at it coming towards you and then going away and coming towards you. Well, it's concreted into the ground. The not actual effect that you observe is you spinning underneath, and the only way it happens is if you spin underneath. So when they tell us, we don't spin underneath because, they've just debunked their own claim. And up until now, they've managed to use the burden of proof reversal fallacy and somehow get us to fight for them to claim their own claim, rather than just pointing out that as soon as they claim conservation of angular momentum, they're debunking the claim of drift.
I also support that.
Yes, sir. And they also, because it takes away, they always say that, well, it's spinning and blah, blah, blah. And, it's an effect of the centrifugal force. But when you say Coriolis vision, that kills it before they even say it.
Exactly. Well, no, nothing to do with the force that the projectile is going to be experiencing. It's merely me observing it as I turn underneath. And if I'm not turning underneath, stuff not attached, I'm not observing Coriolis deviation. So the moment they describe an effect that is induced from conservation of momentum in the target that you're supposed to be looking at as you turn underneath, they're flying in the face of the claim we turn underneath and defending the fact that we don't turn underneath, which is precisely what they're required to prove we spin. So when they fly in the face of it, just point it out to them. So what's that? Bullet conserves momentum. Well, that's got sod all to do with Coriolis effect. But if that was the case, you wouldn't observe drift from the ground as you turn underneath, as you claim you do. We don't. Or we'd see that effect. And we don't. It would shorten flight times. And when they go, well, we wouldn't expect flight times. They've got Coriolis indicators and they account for it. No, they can't, because it's only observed from the ground as you turn underneath it. So we've got to be turning underneath aeroplanes to observe this effect. And if we're not turning underneath it, we're not having that effect, we're not spinning.
Coriolis
They
vision.
forgot a key word, and when they called it Coriolis effect, forgot a word. They should have called it Coriolis optical effect. That's all it is.
Yeah.
I like
That's where
vision
the
too,
vision comes in,
but it's
bro.
like
Coriolis
it's
vision
just a side
kills
gag,
it.
like
Boom.
the quantum race calls it. It's nonsense.
He's right. Chocolate is right, but you're just using a slightly more posh word. The optics of Coriolis is, in bare bones English, looking at it. So that's what it's going to involve. You looking at something and describing what you see in the effect. So we're going to have the person on the ground observing it. And as soon as they're not turning, they're not observing Coriolis effect. So we have got to, as flat earthers, tie our opponents to what they claim. You claim 2 reference frames, Earth turns underneath. No, it doesn't, because planes would have shortened flight times. When they say, no, we wouldn't expect planes to have shortened flight times, the plane's doing blah, blah, blah. Sod all to do with Coriolis, I'm afraid, my friend. You claim we observe things drifting because we turn underneath. Don't justify why the plane isn't drifting, because you're saying we don't have this drift effect because we're turning underneath, because we're not turning underneath, so we're not experiencing Coriolis, as is absolutely claimed by the globe side, to prove we spin. So let's start pointing it out like it is. So you claim there's no drift. Well, there's no proof we spin then.
Beautiful. Like when you say, Nathan, we see it because it's there, that kills all their crap that they're going to say after that. We see it because it's there.
Yeah, and it's a real effect. You can see it on a roundabout. Look at anything not attached to the roundabout you're spinning on and you'll see Coriolis deflection. It'll seem like it's doing something it isn't. Well, the only reason you see it seeming to do something it isn't is because you're spinning. So you've got to be spinning to have the effect. And all they do all day long is justify why we don't have Earth spinning underneath. Because they know damn well that our rebuttal to their claim of Coriolis, that would be Earth spinning underneath, is that flight times would be reduced, and they're not. So this is going to get more concise for the people who fight against the claim we turn. We don't, we're stationary. If we did, we'd have Coriolis effect. They claim we do, and we don't. It's just that simple.
Yep.
So after all that detailed explanation for any who followed along, and again, maybe 50% of the people watching will follow along. If you find that derogatory, tough luck. It's been demonstrated here plenty of times. Most of the people on the globe side don't understand what Coriolis effect is, and the same goes for flat earthers most of the time. They don't really know what the effect is, and they go to research it, and who can blame them for getting confused? It's all detailed in doublespeak nonsense about things like hurricanes. And the effect is only observed as you turn underneath stuff, nothing to do with turning hurricanes. Because it's a not actual deflection you observe as you turn underneath stuff. Hurricanes have got an actual spin direction, but they're detailed in a convoluted cluster screw of nonsense when you go to Wiki and Wiki Coriolis effect. Starts off as effect. It's got a little GIF that explains it. Ball seems to drift because you turn underneath it. Ball's actually travelling straight. Really simple explanation in the GIF with a one-word detailed explanation. Maybe 2 sentences tops. But then next to it, it's got paragraph after paragraph after paragraph where it takes it from a not actual deflection as you rotate underneath to a Coriolis force, and then that force turns into something that's actually causing hurricanes to spin. And it's all nonsense. Absolutely nothing to do with Coriolis effect. But if you were to read that on either side of the argument, you're gonna get confused. And Coriolis is simple. It's induced because you turn underneath stuff. So the second our opponents on the globe side start arguing against us turning against stuff, they're effectively debunking their own claim that we do.
It sounds a lot like their geometric horizon, rest in peace, that they've lost. Like their little response to that refraction is an automatic debunk, because if it's refracted, it's not geometric.
Yeah.
Yeah, their arguments are falling fast.
We see it because it's there is beautiful statement. Sorry to interrupt you.
In the case
What
of
about when they
geometry,
say the Earth and the atmosphere travel as one? Then there's only one
no
reference
Coriolis
frame, correct?
yeah, just
Yes.
play out that
That's what my
conversation
son
again.
said.
Hold on, Neil.
He said, you don't get it. The Earth and the atmosphere are moving together. And then I tell him, yeah, but then you're arguing for one reference frame. And you need 2, right?
Yeah. And if you don't understand the argument, that's where you'll step in and debunk the claim that we have drift with 2 reference frames. Or worse still, make it overtly clear to any audience watching or listening when quoted, Simon Dan, you and your reference frames have been ruined. That would be to assert that we don't have 2 reference frames, the very thing that is needed to claim drift. Not by the flat earth side, we don't need reference frames, but the globe side does. And if you don't understand what Coriolis effect is, you're going to step in with your size 10s and debunk it. When you think you're doing a good job tweeting me about how my reference frames that I don't have, don't use, don't require are ruined. That's clown behaviour by people who don't understand what Coriolis effect is. Embarrassing. For Dan and any who think that the Earth is spinning. It isn't. We'd have Coriolis drift 2 reference frames if Earth was spinning, precisely as claimed by Neil deGrasse Tyson. That's what Coriolis is supposed to be on Earth. But we don't have Earth-based Coriolis effect, because Earth doesn't turn underneath stuff. If it did, we'd have reduced flight times when travelling west, and we don't.
Yeah, I'll just climb on my pogo stick and hop to you quickly, Jay. Nathan, won't take too long.
I missed the beginning bit of that, so it won't take too long?
I'll climb on my pogo stick and hop to you. It wouldn't take too long. Just wait for the Earth to spin underneath.
Yeah, just jump up in the air and the Earth should turn underneath if there's a second inertial reference frame and you spinning underneath it, as is claimed. Your drone would drift away at 1,000 miles an hour on the equator, not because it's got a really powerful motor. It would be not actual deflection that you'd be observing as it whizzed away at 1,000 miles an hour, because the Earth would be turning underneath it, as is claimed. It does. It just doesn't. Earth isn't turning underneath anything. It's absurd.
Still would very much like to know why all these little hurricanes that we have all appear very rotaty in the inertial reference frame. There are claims that they move straight in the inertial reference frame. So,
but you see, Chocolate, this is what I wanted to explain to you yesterday with the general relativity, why it debunks hurricanes.
Hold on. Hurricanes are real. You don't want to be saying things like that. You're not trying to debunk hurricanes.
No, debunk the claim that hurricanes are caused by Coriolis.
Yeah, they're not. It's a not actual deflection, and hurricanes have an actual spin direction. Unless you're in the hurricane, watching something on the ground that's attached to the ground, not moving, come towards you as you spin in the hurricane.
This is where the vision explanation comes in. If it's vision, if it's a visual effect, it can't affect nothing, not even a mosquito.
Yeah, and the only way it's translatable to hurricanes, or to scale it down a bit to make it easier to understand, in a whirlwind, if you were caught up in the whirlwind, physically in the whirlwind, so you were part of that reference frame spinning around, you observing a fire hydrant or a lamppost in the ground, concreted into the ground, as you turn in the hurricane or turn in the whirlwind, you would see the fire hydrant coming towards you as you spin towards it. Now, obviously, the hydrant isn't actually moving. It would be you turning towards it in a twister. That's the only way you could induce Coriolis deflection, and not actual effect, from you turning and something you're observing not turning with you. But as for you being on the ground looking at a hurricane, absolutely nothing to do with Coriolis effect. Because you're claimed to be turning underneath on an Earth that spins with Coriolis effect, and that's going to induce a not actual deflection, a sight gag, an illusion. Not make wind spin. It's you supposed to be spinning underneath it. It's just nonsense designed to confuse people. And up until now, 2020, it's worked. Well, up until recently, when we realised that the burden of proof was being reversed, when we say, no, you claim Earth turns underneath stuff and you're saying it all rotates together. That's nonsense in itself. We haven't, up until this point, been saying, well, that means no drift. Until we got a nice quote to go along with it, which is useful. You and your reference frames have been ruined. No drift, says Simon Dan.
I would say we've been saying it for a while because they've been coming up with that. Oh, the atmosphere does rotate together, but sometimes it doesn't. We've been saying it for a bit. It's just I think Dan helped out with his little your reference frames have been ruined. So thanks, Dan, once again. Look it up.
Yeah, we've all become fans of Simon Dan overnight because he inadvertently agrees with us. Because he can't not be agreeing with us. We don't have any reference frames to be ruined. So there's only one set of reference frames that are argued about, and whose are they? Well, they're the globe sides. So it's really fortunate that Dan's on our side debunking Earth turn. Thanks, Dan.
We should create a poster of, a twister with a cow in the twister, and Simon Dan's face on the cow, going, "Moo and your reference frames are ruined."
Moo and your reference frames. That's terrible. Moo and your reference frames. Very good.
Any Globers have any reference frames they would like to talk about in the Discord or something?
If there's any Globers in there at all, can you see the Discord server?
I've had about 8 Globers telling me I don't understand, and every time I tell them, come on the live debate, we'll talk, they just, run away. So I think everybody's too scared to come on the show.
Well, there is no gaps at the moment, so maybe there's someone itching to join and defend Simon Dan's egregious error. I doubt it. He doesn't seem to be getting a great deal of support on this front, does he?
I just found something, if you'll let me read it.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. You are coupled to the reference frame of the Earth. While on the surface, your velocity relative to the Earth is 0. If you start to levitate above the ground, you are still attached to the reference frame of the Earth. and will hover over the same spot on the ground. It's no different than riding in an airplane, standing in the aisle, jumping in the air, and assuming that you'll stop traveling at the 550 miles per hour the airplane is flying. If you want to separate yourself from the Earth's reference frame, you would have to decelerate yourself by 1,000 miles per hour at the equator, and you would have to compensate for the forces that come from the atmosphere slamming into you at 1,000 miles per hour. The atmosphere is also attached to the Earth's reference frame. This would take a lot of energy.
So that flies in the face of the assertion that Neil deGrasse Tyson makes, that when a football is kicked, the Earth turns underneath, causing not actual deflection observed from somebody in the stand. Or to put it another way, you in the stand see the ball seem to curve, but it's only seeming to curve because Earth is turning underneath as a second reference frame. It's also claimed that snipers have to account for Coriolis deflection as the bullet leaves the frame of reference that turns underneath, moving the target. So they have to lead the target because apparently it's claimed Earth turns underneath. That would be the claim of Coriolis as handed down by the High Priesthood. I'm not entirely sure where your reference came from, Neil, but that flies in the face of the fundy assertion that we have Coriolis effect to prove we spin, also asserted by gyroscopes and pendulums. It's claimed Earth turns underneath as a second, non-inertial reference frame. Not that they attach together, not that you move as one with a single reference frame, because that wouldn't give you drift. And they claim there's 15 degrees of it per hour.
But also that
Neil.
debunks them anything about saying.
Neil, could you read the part where it says what you would have to do to detach yourself from the Earth frame reference? Could you read that part
If you
one more
want
time?
to separate yourself from the Earth's reference frame, you would have to decelerate yourself by 1,000 miles per hour at the equator. And you would have to compensate for the forces that come from the atmosphere slamming into you at 1,000 miles per hour. The atmosphere is also attached to the Earth's reference frame.
Would you send us that
Also,
link?
the guy that kicked the field goal, he did all that with that football then.
No, it's in complete polar opposition to the claim made by Neil deGrasse Tyson, Chocolate.
And then compensated for the atmosphere
No.
slamming into that ball, therefore giving it that slight edge to make that field goal. And then he just did a quick calculation to figure all that out. That's cute.
No, he
This
didn't.
kind of sounds to me like he's coming from a general relativity standpoint.
The
Way to
question
kill-
was, if the Earth is rotating at a high speed and we
Sounds like
jump
they don't know
up,
what to do.
why doesn't the Earth move below us at high speed?
It's claimed
That
it
was the
does.
question.
It's
There were
claimed it
several
does.
contradictions there.
Yeah, it's a contradiction of their claim we have Coriolis effect. And they say, I will assume
Correct.
Earth and atmosphere travel as one. It's like, well, what are you going to get to actually prove Earth is turning underneath to give you 15 degrees an hour deflection? As that is very much laid down in the rhetoric of Foucault, and the claim even asserted as being proven by Bob Nodell. Not that it was his ring laser or fibre optic, to be more accurate, gyroscope. Nevertheless, it's asserted as his because he detailed it on a Netflix presentation. However, the assertion they use from that piece of apparatus is an assertion that there's two reference frames. Earth turning underneath, gyro in an inertial reference frame, and the cage drifting because Earth turns underneath. Also, bullets, as asserted by snipers, as detailed earlier by me, and footballs, as detailed by Neil deGrasse Tyson. There's very much a claim that Earth turns underneath as a separate reference frame, called Coriolis effect. But this citation flies in the face of that. Where's that from, Neil?
Yeah, so they're contradicting each other.
Where's the citation from?
Oh, that's I just Googled it. Let me see. Something Quora? Quora?
Oh, right. Yeah,
Go
what a shocker.
ahead and post it, Neil and Master B, because there were so many contradictions there.
Let me send it to Master B. Give me a second.
Yeah, shocker. Quora's like high-level trench.
That site,
Go on, Montreal.
sorry, Nathan. That
Go on.
site, Cora sends me a lot of crap. So we should take that with a grain of salt.
But it's wrong. It's contradicting the claim we have 15 degrees drift. it's quite literally contradicting the actual rhetoric handed down by Neil deGrasse Tyson. So whoever's posted that on Quora is just wrong. It's not the actual rhetoric.
I see value for it because they're debunking their own claim right there. I'm going to keep that one. That's a good one.
For some reason, I get a lot of references to that place. I always see it in my mailbox. Quora.
Well, you and your Quora references are ruined.
Okay, it's there.
Yeah, I posted it. It's up on screen for the audience's benefit. Who wrote it? No. So yeah, if you want to separate yourself from Earth's reference frame, you'd have to detach yourself at about 1,000 miles per hour. Not according to Neil deGrasse Tyson. According to him, drift. Not according to the sniper's handbooks. According to them, drift. Not according to Foucault. According to Foucault and his pendulum and gyro, drift. 15 degrees of it an hour. Separate reference frames. This is pissing in the face of the actual claim that's supposed to prove Earth spinning. So if there's nothing to detect, according to this, and you're automatically a single reference frame, how exactly, pray tell, would this prove we're spinning? Because there's nothing to detect. In other words, you wouldn't tell. Well, according to the claim of a globe Earth that spins, you've got Coriolis deflection at 15 degrees an hour as Earth turns underneath. However, if that was the case, that would shorten flight times. So, again, it doesn't matter if it's Quora, the same thing absolutely applies. Which sword do you want to die by? Your sword that says there's nothing to prove Earth spinning? No drift? Oh, right. Well, you've got no drift. So no 15 degrees an hour then, Quora. No worries, you die by that sword. Or, yeah, we do have drift. Yeah, we agree with the priest Neil deGrasse Tyson. So what is it? Like Simon Dan, should the author of this garbage be put to task? Well, according to Tyson, you have drift at 15 degrees an hour demonstrated with a football. And then suddenly you've got weasels like Simon Dan and the author of this garbage going, oh, no, I believe the drift. It's like we've just described how we don't have it. Well, if we don't have 15 degrees of drift because it's all attached as a single reference frame, then you don't have drift proving we spin. It is that simple. But they'll assert the contrapositive of their actual claim, which is to debunk the claim we have separate reference frames and assert that there's only one. What, reference frames ruined then, Quora? No drift. Thanks for debunking Earth turn. Maybe you need to get on the line and start telling us how you do believe it, even though you've just debunked it. Ooh, got a super chat. Out to Al Junkie, he says, if Keith Richard dies, well, how morbid, will Earth turn under Keith? That's dire.
I don't think Keith Richards ever going to die.
But will Earth turn under Keith?
I'm a Keith. It's not turning on me.
Well, we've established the answer, Al Junkie. Earth is not turning under Keith.
One thing's for sure, the stone will stop rolling.
Who got that citation, by the way? Was it Neil? Neil, thank you for that, because it's excellent that we can actually put on screen what I tried to explain to the audience as convoluted doublespeak from Wiki. And here's another citation that proves exactly that. What you require as a globe-believing fundy is that Earth turns underneath. And we need you to assert that because we can pummel it by proving it doesn't with a flight time that's not reduced when travelling west, as Earth turns underneath it, as you're supposed to be claiming. But as soon as we point that out, they say, no, it travels as one reference frame. So now they're just going to die by that sword, which is no drift then. So Foucault was wrong then. Not two reference frames then. Reference frames ruined then, Quora, Simon Dan. And watch them grovel to the almighty god of drift. Yes, Simon Dan, Rumpus, yeah. I believe the drift. Yeah, you better, because it's your rhetoric. Not one reference frame, nothing turning underneath. Your rhetoric is drift. Stuff turning underneath at 15 degrees. You better believe it. It ain't true, though, because it would shorten flight times.
Don't you just love how general relativity debunks Coriolis?
Yes, I love it.
So the actual gravity claims actually debunks their own claims.
Well, I like
Yeah, they contradict
This
themselves.
is why they sound the way they do, because all their claims debunk all their other claims. It's ridiculous.
That's right.
But that's where you end up
Like
with
the
the
conservation of momentum.
well, not Coriolis, SC Montreal. I was going to say, where they've got weak-ass arguments, it seems that they've got a preemptive strike against flat earthers. So Chocolate mentioned earlier about the geometric physical sphere edge horizon that would require a tangent point and we're told is refracted, debunking the geometry. That would be the black swan argument. If the Earth is a sphere with a radius of 3959, then every distance to horizon can be no more than 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet, and the black swan shows the horizon way in excess of 10 miles at a 1 foot observer height, putting it at 1.2 if it is to be asserted with geometry. Now, the rebuttal from the globe side to that very argument is to say that the horizon's refracted. Now, their refraction requires the R value in their geometry to have been measured. In other words, you would require the horizon to have been physical at some stage. And it's not by rebuttal, leaving the model in a paradox. So what do we have as a preemptive strike? Well, we're told, or the general populace is told, that flat earthers believe boats go over the edge on a model that's held up as a straw man by a society we are no way a part of. That would be Flat Earth Society. But they've got a little picture of a boat going off the edge of a pizza pancake earth. So that they can laugh at us for our assertion that we don't make, that boats go over an edge. They spill over the edge with all the water. Well, in reality, the globe assertion is that boats go over a sphere edge. They call their horizon a physical geometric sphere edge. Tangent point that they measure to, and they claim obstructs the bottoms of boats and buildings. So they literally have boats going over the edge, and a preemptive strike on us. Same goes for things like the assertion that there's a dome, to send it into ridicule in things like Simpsons, lowering a glass bowl over the top of an entire town. When in reality, their assertion is the sky is a vacuum. A really pathetic argument. Nature abhors a vacuum, yet our sky is one. No. So what do you do? Preemptively ridicule the flat earth assertion. We have a dome. It's made of sapphire or glass. No, I don't make that assertion. Nobody on my panel makes that assertion. But we'll be ridiculed in advance for making that claim when we actually state the reality of containment being required to have gas pressure. A sky vacuum being an area for the gas we breathe to fill. And fill it must, as it expands in all directions.
What they don't understand, Nathan, is when you say all gas pressure requires containment, we're not saying there is a container. We're just saying there is no sky vacuum. It's as easy as that.
I used to argue it that way, but I don't see the need to not assert it. You absolutely require containment. A few people tried to have me on it. I'm like, why am I even denying this? Without the container, there can be no pressure. So, without the container, there can be no pressure. Shout out to Retro Billy, says a baller's average day. Eat, sleep, lose, repeat. Thanks, Retro
It's more
Bill.
like repeat 20 times a day.
Sounds like a movie title.
Let's not forget the other little straw man that they like to throw at us with their little Earth rising 9.8 meters per second squared. That's funny that they throw that on us, but then at the same time got people like Brian Cox saying, hey, that's what Einstein described general theory.
Cutting out chocolate.
Yes.
Relativity.
Hey, I have the name for the... Sorry.
No, go on.
10th, I have the name for the show, for the series.
Go
As
ahead.
the Earth does not spin.
With all the other
Just-
soap operas.
Just stick it in the microwave, remember?
Chocolate
So,
was making
could
a
any
point
of you
before.
perhaps
Hold on.
explain to me how theory of relativity can be described in Euclidean space?
Well,
You
yes,
can't.
you can lay out your challenge in a second, Darwin. I just want to round out what Chocolate was saying because he started to break up and he was making a really good point in terms of the assertion from the controlled opposition Flat Earth Society narrative that Earth is rising up at 9.8 meters per second in this pancake with an edge the boats fall over, in spite of the fact that it's part of globe Earth rhetoric that we have 9.8 meters per second and an edge for boats to go over. Not only that, this is where I was going to step in, but as I say, Chocolate broke up. They've also got it rising up through what now? Anybody on the panel? What's Flat Earth Society's pancake rising up at 9.8 per second through?
Outer space.
Outer space, right.
Yeah.
Isn't that amusing? We debunk the claim that you've got this region, this sky vacuum, and yet the Flat Earth Society have got it very much part of their narrative.
Right, because they gotta have satellites, remember?
I don't know what the Flat Earth Society are playing at. They're just a way of pouring scorn and giving a load of nonsense assertions, half the time to be ridiculed by the globe side against flat earthers, when in reality it's a spun version of their own narrative. Boats going over the edge, look how stupid these flat earthers are with their pancake and a boat falling over the edge of it. Meanwhile, we'll calculate with geometric physical assumption bias that the horizon which moves with the weather is actually the edge of a sphere for boats to go over. You want to lay down your challenge, Arwin? With your Euclidean and your pseudo-Ramonian? Hello, Arwin?
Arwen, hello?
Maybe he's crashed.
But it's simple, you can't.
Well, typically
Euclidean works with straight lines.
I can just do it for him because I know his challenge. So Arwin's laid down a challenge that was originally laid down by Quantum Eraser, which is to say, explain the gravitational pull of the moon on Earth with Einsteinian mathematics. So use Einstein's field equations to explain the gravitational attraction between the body of mass, that's your vernacular, not mine, that is the moon, and the body of mass that is claimed to be a spherical Earth in a sky vacuum. Explain that with Einsteinian gravity. Fundies. That would be Arwin's challenge.
Easy. Trampoline.
No, with the field equations. not with.
Oh, you want equations. Sorry.
The ones that can be solved numerically or can't be solved numerically.
Once Arwin comes back, I'll let him. I don't want to take his punchline for him. I've already given his challenge.
I'm back.
Okay,
Sorry.
I've given you. I've laid down your challenge, but did you want to lay down the reasoning behind the challenge and the failure that will ensue as a result of your challenge? Go ahead, Arwin.
Again, I asked, how does thing work? Theory of relativity work in Euclidean space, yes. Because this is something that I also treated on my show this morning. I'll keep it short. I'll try to keep it short. It's like a new subject in a way. I think I figured out that this whole idea of a theory of relativity rests on a mechanism psychologically, so not information-wise, but psychologically, which is very similar as to how you conceive or how you observe Coriolis effect, by basically attaching yourself from force conceptions from Euclidean thinking and just starting to think in reference frames. And I think that that is the same thing that the general theory of relativity does. While if you just look at the really is level in Euclidean space, just like GPS coordination systems, then this idea, oh no, wait, you're not moving, it just doesn't make any sense. Because there's natural consequences, forces that come with motion, that are the cause of or created by motion and all that, and acceleration. So, and there's none of that. And general relativity completely overlooks all of that. It doesn't address motion forces at all.
Yeah,
sorry.
Well said, because it's conceptual. Well said.
Took a little long. But yeah, it's
Well,
interesting. It's the Coriolis again.
according to the Veritasium guy, you have to accelerate in order to stand still. That seems legit to
Would
me.
you guys agree that it is a mechanism of basically pulling your psyche, where you focus on with your conscious, away from typical Euclidean and physics thinking into these reference frame conceptions? It's what they're doing. It's not the end result. It's the action pulling you in that was the intended goal, I think.
Reference frames, you say? You and your reference frames have been ruined. Simandan.
Yeah.
Or when it's like he's kind of explaining a flat disk accelerating upwards, but because of bending space-time, it wraps itself as a globe.
Oh, hold on. You're gonna have to fill Arwin in on your bias on this. So Flatzoid thinks he's hinting at flat Earth with this. I don't know if you agree, Arwin.
The Flat Earth Society?
No, Veritasium.
Well, they directly lent the concept from Einstein's reference frame thinking. So,
No, not Flat Earth Society. No, not 9.8 meters per second pancake flying up through a sky vacuum. No, Veritasium. Go ahead, Flatzoid. Do you want to just break it down for Arwin? You've done it in the pre-show if you're watching this twice.
The way he explains it is actually a flat Earth, but because of the bending of space-time, it's kind of wrapping itself in a globe. That's why it can go in all directions straight up.
what?
Describing bending geodesics in space-time, and he's saying because that wrapping into a globe shape would imply that the bending space-time, the geodesics he's describing, implies, according to Flatzoid, that it's actually flat. That's what he's suggesting. Now, space is flat, even in their narrative, but I don't think he's hinting at a flat Earth. Flatzoid thinks differently.
I didn't see that either. He was just talking about space-time relations. You know, the bending is the space-time. It's basically describing the effects of circumdicular thinking and geometry. That's what it doesn't relate to what you said, I think.
It's like curving out straight lines. It is. It's the same as your challenge, actually. The general relativity with Euclidean space. It's the same type of thing. They're just, how can I say, making straight lines curved.
You know,
they're making straight lines curved.
Precisely
Right.
what they're doing. Yes, making straight lines bent. Yes.
Right.
Non-Euclidean.
Just like the crooked cross.
With that, I'm going to say, if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premiering streams, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, if you are watching this live, this is where we bid you farewell. A huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of you who smashed the super chat, liked, commented, shared, subscribed, and all that good stuff. Of course, a massive thank you to today's Discord and G+ panels for making today's live show possible. Once again, stay tuned if you're watching on either Premiering stream. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
What a day! What a lovely day!